If I asked you to close your eyes right now and picture a dragon, what do you see? If you live in the West, you likely see a massive bat-winged lizard. It breathes fire, embodies greed, and is the ultimate monster a knight must slay. But for us, those living in the East Asian cultural sphere, that image is almost an offense. The Loong in our minds soars through clouds and commands the wind and rain. It is a deity, a symbol of imperial power, and even the self-identity of our nation. This is one of the greatest misunderstandings in human history. Centuries ago, when the first Western missionaries arrived in China, they hastily drew an equal sign in their dictionaries, translating the Chinese Loong into the Western dragon. This is not just a translation error. It is a collision between the fundamental logics of two civilizations. Historically, the West depicted the sleeping Qing Empire as an ugly monster, while Chinese diplomats were astounded to find that the West depicted their revered god as a devil. Today, we will delve into the bones of biology, trace the curves of economics, and plunge into the depths of Jungian psychology to understand the secrets hidden within this symbol that has ruled human imagination for millennia. Bones and fear, the creation of collective unconscious. To understand the dragon, we must return to the infancy of human civilization. Anthropologists proposed a famous theory. The dragon is a jigsaw puzzle of our ancestors' fears. If you dissect a Western dragon, you find it is an absolute chimera. It possesses the talons of a raptor, the fangs of a feline, and the scales and tails of a reptile. These three groups are precisely the apex predators that hunted primates. The Western dragon is, in essence, the prey's nightmare of the predator. It represents a triple threat of death from the sky, the land, and the underground. This is a dichotomy based on primal survival fears. However, on the other side of the globe, fear evolved into awe. In 1987, archaeologists in Qiang, Henan, unearthed the 6,500-year-old first dragon of China arranged from clam shells. Many scholars believe its prototype was not a snake, but the Chinese alligator. These alligators were exquisitely sensitive to air pressure changes. When a severe storm was imminent, they would emit a thunderous roar. For an agrarian people dependent on the weather, this roar did not bring the fear of being eaten, but a signal of survival. It meant rain and a bountiful harvest. Thus, the Eastern Loong's gene was not destruction, but vitality. Westerners pieced together their fears to create a monster, while Easterners pieced together their awe to create a god. But this was only the start. The Loong's journey from a rain-bringing alligator to the emperor's throne required a precise political transformation. This is the pivotal moment the Loong became an imperial political constitution. Scholar Wen Yi Duo proposed the influential theory. The Loong is the unified totem of the ancient tribes. Its 9 likenesses, horns like a deer, scales like a fish, claws like an eagle, are not biological mutations, but a political covenant. Each added body part signifies an absorbed tribe contributing its fate. The more complex the dragon's form, the larger the civilization it represented. It is essentially a history of political integration written on a single scale. Han Gaozu, Liu Bang, completed this political transition. Facing a profound legitimacy crisis, Liu Bang needed a sacred narrative. The famous passage in the records of the grand historian claiming his mother dreamt of encountering a flood dragon during his conception was born. Liu Bang cemented himself as the true son of heaven and the true dragon. This true dragon concept solved 2 imperial challenges, guaranteeing the unquestionable nature of the mandate of heaven, and ensuring the perpetuity of the empire. The Loong ceased to be a mere tribal totem. It became the supreme faith symbol. This monopoly was institutionalized. The Ming and Qing dynasties enforced rigid hierarchies. Only the emperor could use the 5-clawed golden dragon. princes were strictly limited to the four-clawed python manga. This single claw difference represented the chasm between man and God. The dragon gained immense stability. Even foreign rulers were forced to put on the dragon robe and claim the mandate of heaven. The Eastern Loong is the ultimate manifestation of order, hierarchy, prosperity, and great political unity. Its roar is the declaration of stable, centralized authority. The Western dragon followed a fundamentally different path. It was collectively driven into hell by religion and myth. In the early mythologies of Greece and Rome, the dragon was relatively neutral. It often served as a guardian of treasures or sacred sites, such as the dragon watching over the Golden Fleece. Though ferocious, it adhered to agreements and was a force of nature that could be conquered. However, with the rise of Christianity, the dragon underwent a decisive satanization. In the late 1st century, the Book of Revelation sealed the dragon's fate. It explicitly identifies the great red dragon as that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan. This single passage brought all Western dragons from Germanic worms to Greek hydras under the banner of ultimate evil. The dragon became the common enemy of both God and man. Slaying the dragon was no longer an act of heroic greed, but a moral and religious duty. The legend of Street George is the prime example. He killed the dragon not for treasure, but to save a virgin princess destined for sacrifice. This symbolizes Christianity conquering paganism and chaos with the sword of faith. The demonization peaked in the Middle Ages. In Western alchemy, the dragon symbolized prima materia or primal chaos, an entity that must be broken down, refined, and conquered. To this day, Western culture retains this deeply embedded antagonistic gene. The hero's mission is always to eliminate the threat and restore external order. The symbolic split of the dragon has a deeper interpretation in psychology. Carl Jung believed the dragon is the most powerful symbol of the shadow in the collective human unconscious. The shadow represents the raw, suppressed instincts, power, and desires denied by the individual or collective. The Eastern and Western approaches to handling this shadow form a core philosophical division. In the West, the hero's mission is to slay the dragon to conquer and destroy the shadow. Successful slaying grants the hero treasure and the chaste princess, symbolizing the absolute victory of consciousness over instinct. This birthed the Western philosophy of opposition. Good must completely defeat evil. Light must purge darkness. It encourages external, action-oriented heroism. In the East, the core philosophy is to ride the dragon integration and coexistence with the shadow. The dragon represents the powerful self that must be subdued and mastered. The goal of cultivation is not to kill it, but to merge with it to achieve transcendent power. This birthed the Eastern philosophy of fusion. The shadow is not an enemy, but the source of greater power. It encourages internal, introspective self-transcendence. This psychological division directly influenced the Eastern and Western attitudes towards power and wealth. In the 19th century, when Eastern and Western civilizations met geographically, the dragon's symbolic conflict moved from theology to cruel, political reality. Around the Opium Wars, the Qing Empire's yellow dragon flag became a target for Western media and caricaturists. The king was the ultimate embodiment of the dragon, yet Western media portrayed it as an ugly, dull-eyed monster, symbolizing corruption, ignorance, and barbarism. This visually completed the political demonization of the dragon. The most damaging metaphor was the sleeping dragon. While implying Eastern powers, its core meaning was that this dragon was sluggish, impotent, and waiting to be awakened or dismembered. This provided a moral justification for Western colonial expansion. The subsequent rise of the Yellow Peril completely linked the image of the Eastern dragon to chaos, disease, and massive invasion. The dragon ceased to be the emperor's symbol. It became a racial totem threatening Western civilization. In the cannon fire of the Two Civilizations War, the Eastern Loong was translated and twisted by media into the Western dragon. It devolved from a divine symbol of order into the global political stereotypes of corruption and threats. Entering the modern era, the dragon symbol began a slow, global rehabilitation. One of the most powerful catalysts for this rehabilitation was Bruce Lee. He fused the word dragon with martial arts, immediately associating it with power, honor, and introspection. He successfully injected the spiritual values of the Eastern Loong into the Western context, elevating the dragon from a greedy monster to a symbol of discipline and philosophy. Concurrently, Western popular culture has been unconsciously moving towards the Eastern philosophy of riding the dragon. Epics like Game of Thrones no longer treat the dragon as a satanic figure to be eradicated. Instead, the ultimate test of the hero is the ability to tame and master its powers. The process of training a dragon is learning how to coexist with powerful, primal, internal chaos, and transform it into order. This represents a profound reflection on and Easternization of the medieval dragon-slaying narrative. In finance and commerce, as Asian economies rose, terms like the Four Asian Tigers and the China Dragon were globally redefined with positive meanings of prosperity, vitality, and strong growth. The power and meaning of the symbol shifted once again, following the global economic center of gravity. Today, we have completed this millennia-spanning symbolic war. We found that the so-called Millennial Misunderstanding was not a simple translation error, but a divergent choice made by two different civilizations regarding fear and order. The East chose to nationalize the dragon's primal power, transforming it into a unified political order to gain civilizational stability. The West chose to oppose the dragon's primal power, defining it as moral evil that must be annihilated to gain a narrative of heroism and redemption. Whether one chooses to slay or ride the dragon, the symbol is an unavoidable mirror of the self. It embodies our eternal desire for wealth, power, and the integration of our inner shadow. When facing the complexity and uncertainty of the modern world, understanding this symbol means understanding our civilization's fundamental code. We don't have to rush to choose. Will you be the knight who slays chaos, or the emperor who masters power? The answer, perhaps, lies in this. In your heart, is that dragon an enemy to be conquered, or a source of power to be integrated?